Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into the world of Maya Angelou.
Absolutely should be fascinating.
We've got tons of YouTube videos, biographies, and interviews, even readings of her work. I want to get a sense of, well, what made her voice so powerful?
Definitely. And how her life, her experiences all fed into that.
Exactly. We're going to start with her childhood, growing up in Stamps, Arkansas with her grandmother, segregation, what an environment to be in as a kid.
Must have had a huge impact on her, especially a young creative mind. Talking about resilience being built early.
And then at 7, the sexual assault. Silence for 5 years. I can't even imagine. How do you recover from something like that?
Trauma at that age, it really shapes you. What's amazing is how she turned to literature, memorizing poems, entire passages.
Wow. Like she was rewiring her brain to cope, to understand the world through words.
It does make you think how we all adapt when things get rough.
It does. Have you ever had one of those experiences, listener, where something hard changed how you learn or think?
We often seek meaning, especially in darkness. And for Angelou, that silence seems like it was intense internal growth, leading to her finding her voice in such a powerful way.
And then life throws more at her. Teenage pregnancy, being a single mom, even working in a brothel to help someone she cared for. Back then, that was unbelievably tough.
She never hid from those parts of her life, though. She saw it all as part of her truth.
And used it to connect with others, help empower them.
Exactly. Particularly women, it reminds us choices made in tough spots, they can still become part of a bigger story.
Of strength, of resilience, yeah. And then she has all these jobs. Waitress, even San Francisco's first black female cable car conductor.
Each one adding a layer to her view of the world, I'd imagine.
It makes you wonder if all those everyday people she met ended up in her writing later on.
Absolutely. And not just the people, but her drive to break barriers, not be confined by what society expected.
It's like nonstop. Then she dives into the arts, dancing, singing calypso, even toured with Porgy and Bess. So many things. It's wild.
And yet, it all seems to lead towards writing, doesn't it? Like each path, each exploration was taking her there.
It's the connection between creative things, how one fuels another.
Exactly. And then that key moment, John Oliver Killens, the novelist, tells her to focus on writing.
Wow, must have been huge. When owning the Harlem Writers Guild, surrounded by all those amazing writers, sounds like things clicked into place.
And right there, she meets Mrs. Flowers. This woman Angelou credits with bringing her back to language after years of silence.
Imagine the impact of that. A mentor who sees your potential, especially with something as personal as language.
It's like, how important is it to see ourselves in those we admire? Mrs. Flowers gave her more than just a love of words.
She gave her that belief. You're worthy. You can use this power, this grace. Angela even wrote about her, called Mrs. Flowers, the aristocrat of black stamps.
Perfect description, she said. She was one of the few gentle women I've ever known and has remained throughout my life the measure of what a human being can be.
That's profound. Then comes 1969. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is published. First nonfiction bestseller by a black woman, instant success. Why do you think it hit people so hard, especially back then?
It was raw, honest. She didn't shy away from tough topics. Racism, trauma, her sexuality, vulnerability, and strength, all mixed together.
Her voice resonated. It was authentic, truly black. It paved the way for so many other black women to tell their stories. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? The book was controversial, too.
Absolutely. Groundbreaking works often shake things up. It'd be fascinating to see how the receptions changed over time.
And what those criticisms tell us, especially from people who maybe felt uncomfortable with how honest it was.
Exactly. It'd reveal a lot about the book's lasting power, its relevance even today. It makes you think about Caged Bird fitting into like the whole world of black literature back then. It wasn't just her story.
It captured a moment in history, too. And speaking of which, Angelou was right in the thick of the civil rights movement. With Dr. King organizing, she was living it.
Not just watching. Yeah, her friendships with Malcolm X, James Baldwin, those weren't casual. She was deeply invested.
I read that she called Baldwin her brother friend, loved his intellect, how he challenged her thinking.
And Malcolm X, that connection was about uplifting black people, shared commitment.
What gets me is she kept those close ties amidst all the chaos, the danger even. It says a lot about her.
Her courage, loyalty, for sure. And then to have both men assassinated. Unimaginable loss.
You people so close to her, representing such hope. The impact must have been devastating.
It would break you. But Angelou, she turned grief into action, pushed her further into fighting for justice.
Which brings us to how she saw language. She once said, words are things. They get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Powerful stuff. Language wasn't just talking, it was shaping reality itself.
You see it in her poems, And Still I Rise. Phenomenal woman. They're not just words, they're anthems.
resilience, self-love. I go back to them all the time for a boost. What about you, listener? Any lines that jump out at you?
And then there's On the Pulse of Morning, recited at Clinton's inauguration, first black woman to have that honor.
Huge moment, right? Recognition of her voice, her place in our history. And the poem itself, all about unity, hope.
It went beyond that one day. It still offers this vision of a better future, you know?
It does. And speaking of her influence, her becoming a professor at Wake Forest later on, that's dedication to shaping minds.
Lifelong love of learning, sharing it. She saw education as a tool for empowerment, for changing the world.
Makes sense. Then Obama's election happens. She saw it as such a hopeful time for America.
She wasn't blind to the problems, but she believed in progress, in a more inclusive future, you know?
It makes you wonder if all those big events she lived through, from seeing the UN founded as a teenager to Obama, if it all reinforced that belief, that positive change is possible.
Even when things are tough, hope endures. But it's not enough just to have hope. We got to work for that change.
Makes you think, what would Angelou say about the world today? Would she be, like, hopeful about what we've done, or bummed out by what's still wrong?
Good question. I bet she'd see both sides. You know, celebrate the good stuff, but still push for what's right, for equality.
Yeah, she'd want us to use our voices, whatever talents we've got, whatever platform, to make things better.
She always said we each have a part to play, not just the big stuff, even the little choices. Being kind, empathetic.
It's those everyday moments that add up, right? And standing up for what's right, even when it's hard.
Totally. And listening, Angelou was amazing at that. Always wanted to hear people's stories, their point of view.
She believed everyone had something to give. Each story was part of, like, the whole fabric of humanity.
Makes you realize we got to get out of our own bubbles. Talk to people different from us. Truly listen.
That's where it starts, right? Building bridges, understanding each other instead of walls.
It's in that connection, that shared humanity, that we can break down the bad systems, create a world where everyone feels seen.
Absolutely. So wrapping up our deep dive into Maya Angelou, it's just amazing how far her impact reached.
For writing, to fighting for what she believed in, to teaching, she touched so many lives.
And her legacy, it keeps inspiring us to live with purpose, to speak up, to never stop learning.
She showed that no matter what life throws at you, you can rise above it, you can create, you can make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we finish up, I got to ask, what's the one thing you'll take with you from Angelou's story? That resilience, her belief in the power of words.
So many good options.
Maybe it's her fight for justice, or even just her laugh, her faith in people. Whatever it is, hold on to it.
Let it guide you, inspire you to live a life that matters.
Her life proved the human spirit. It's powerful. Even with hardship, you can find your voice, overcome anything, leave your mark on the world. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep rising.